today I wanted to speak about the topic of child support and why this corrupt system rewards women for deplorable behavior. Now, what I'm saying might sound a little extreme. You might think, what do you mean by that? Well, before we get into that, let's give a little background story on a situation that occurred with me, right? Just an example. So the way that child support is designed, it's set up, you are required to pay the custodial parent, meaning if the child lives with the mother, you pay the mother, based on the amount of time you spend with the child and how much you make, right? The process usually goes something along the lines of submitting a declaration of expense form, which lists all your bills and your monthly expenses, things like that. Your last two pay stubs, the most two recent pay stubs, and the most recent W-2 that you filed, right, for taxes. Now, I have been at odds with this woman for a couple of years now, and I've taken everything in stride. But despite having a good payment history, because I did fall behind on payments for a little while when I lost a job through no fault of my own, and interest accumulated on arrears that are owed, I am stuck now, or I was stuck in about $15,000 in debt owed, because that number climbed. And while I continued to pay about $1,200 a month in child support, I wasn't aware of the interest rate and how fast it was climbing on the arrears. And then once I actually figured out that information and I started chipping away at that, I added an extra $100 every month to go on top of it to help pay for that. Well, after a year in good faith, I go to court, hoping that I could request a stoppage of wage garnishments. Now, what a stoppage is it's not saying that I don't pay child support, but it's saying, hey, would you guys mind not snatching my money from me? Would you allow me to pay it myself? As you would imagine, the county said no. They thought that I did not demonstrate responsible behavior, despite me having the record sheet showing the last year and a half of on-time payments never being missed. Now that I have a job that is stable, now that I am in school, and now that I am in a position in life where I don't have to be with a woman I argue with, I can wake up and not worry about those things. The problem with this is that I was doing it so that I could have my tax money to have a vehicle. This vehicle you see me sitting inside of right now, I don't own this. This is my girlfriend's, and she lets me use it so I can go to and from work. I can't do that forever. I need my own car. Now, to give you a little bit of background story on why I don't have a vehicle. Well, when me and my ex split up, she took it upon herself to vandalize my vehicle. I believe she ripped out the coolant hose, let the air out the tires on multiple occasions, had the spare keys and threw them out the window on the freeway after she broke into the vehicle and stole some of my documents. One of those things being a little black booklet I had that contained my social security number, my birth certificate. I'm also part Native American, so I have a Native American roll card number. All important information. And what I find funny is when I went to go looking for it, a restraining order was filed against me because of it. And as a result, it's funny because a restraining order was filed, and then the next day she admits to it because she agrees to meet up with me and give me the booklet, only to find out my birth certificate's no longer in there. So, not only was she responsible for damaging my vehicle, the police report I filed did absolutely nothing. Brought it up in court. They told me that it's not their problem. They told me to take it to civil court. Tried to take it to civil court. And as you would imagine, I jumped through all these hoops. The only thing that I was able to do was to get them to agree to a restraining order. But even then, I decided to drop it because I still want to see my kids and I don't want to make things difficult. So there was no punishment for ruining my vehicle. Now here comes tax season again. This is the first year that I'm probably going to get a little bit more than $1,000 because, to be quite honest, I always file single. I make around a little bit less than $50,000 a year. And mind you, I am also in school pursuing a bachelor's in criminal justice. So mind you, this is at least with a little bit of a college education, and I still don't get paid that much. And as you would guess based on the logo on the hat, this is where I live. This is an expensive place. All these things that are going on, right? And I tried to explain this to the judge so I could potentially have my tax money this year to purchase a vehicle so that I could navigate around, go to work without a problem, be able to pick up my children without a problem. Not only did a caseworker who was assigned to it deny it because of arrears owed, the ex of mine, the mother of my first two children, denied it as well because she wants money, of course. And the judge had this look on her face. It was funny. I'll never forget. This is what really upset me. The judge had this look on her face when I explained the situation. Everything I'm telling you guys, I told her. And the judge looked at me and snickered and said, well, everybody would love to get a new car. But until then, until you have paid off all the arrears owed, unfortunately, you will not be able to receive that tax money. So, this puts me in a situation where I have to really analyze and go, okay, now I'm stuck. I might have to work 2 jobs. And that wouldn't necessarily be a problem, except that doesn't really leave me with any time to watch the kids. Also, prior to this situation, I hadn't heard from the mother of my children in a few months. Every now and then she gets upset with me and doesn't want to communicate with me for whatever reason. I try and be respectful and leave her alone. I don't ask about her personal life, even though every time she reaches out to me, she makes comments about mine. Comments about my girlfriend. Comments about my youngest daughter with her. Saying, no, don't you need to take care of your daughter? She has a name, first of all. She likes to be very disrespectful. She likes to be very condescending, very rude, and very dismissive. She likes to do all that, prevent me from seeing the children, and then run right around and tell the court system I'm not around, I'm a deadbeat father. That she needs more money from me, she needs financial help. Now, this is where the issue comes into play, right? If I am going through this situation, I would imagine several other men around the country are. Millions of men face this problem. We are being extorted for our paychecks, right? Because this is what this feels like, extortion at this point. We're being extorted for our money, and we're being used, and they're getting revenge on us. And I blame the justice system. They've designed this in a way that incentivizes angry women. Because I'm not saying this is all women. I'm not saying there aren't some situations where it is better for the mother and the father to be separate and the father to stay the fuck away from the kids and only pay. Because there are some men who are very abusive. Some men who are physically abusive, very verbally abusive. They may fear physical harm of you or your children. Those extreme cases, abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah, keep him the fuck away. But what about cases of honest, hard-working men who are sick of this shit, who aren't concerned with what the ex is doing? We don't care what you're doing. We don't care you're living your life. We want you to enjoy yourselves because we know the minute that you don't enjoy yourself, you make shit harder for people like us. We have shit to do. We have shit we'd like to do. We want to be there for our children. And I'll never understand this preaching of how I don't get any help. I need money from him. He's never around. He's not a good father. And every time he reaches out, every time he asks about the children, every time he says, hey, I'd like to take them for lunch. I want to take them to the arcade. I haven't seen them in a while. How are they doing? You get shut down. You get a fucked up text message with a passive aggressive response or no response at all. You know what's funny is I see a lot of, again, and I'm not trying to generalize and insult all women here. I don't think all women do this. But I see a lot of women walking around with their faces in their fucking mobile phones damn near 24/7. You mean to tell me that I knew this individual before? I knew that she had her face in her phone all the time. Why? Because I had hobbies, and when I was doing what I did, she sat there scrolling through her fucking phone. Now all of a sudden, I'm too busy? I know what you do for a living. I know what your job is. I'm not going to go by there. I'm not going to tell the world what it is you do for work. But what I will say is this: the job is not demanding. The job is entry-level customer service. I know you play on your phone at work. You did all that when we were together before, and you would constantly blow up my phone. You didn't care I was at work. Now all of a sudden it's hard to get a hold of you, and all I ask is, hey, when can I take my daughter out to lunch? Would it be possible to FaceTime my son so he can get to know me? And maybe I'm revealing too much of my personal information, but this is supposed to indicate, or it's supposed to be an example of a much bigger problem, a much bigger issue. And quite frankly, I'm getting sick of it, and something needs to be done about this shit. And I really don't know where to go about this. I've dedicated my time now to trying to fight these injustices, because now, where I work, I try and help other fathers. Where I work, I am a community activist. I am involved in events where I try to have fathers and be in their children's lives and get engaged with community activities, teach parenting classes, and do all types of stuff that's geared towards fatherhood or the betterment of men, helping men assist each other, providing these networks, giving these spaces for fathers to open up. Because emotionally and mentally, we have been beaten by the system. And they're not going to change it anytime soon. There's no incentive for them to work with fathers and be reasonable. And until this gets fixed, you're going to continue to see women around, these types of women, not all women. Again, not all women. But until we see this fixed, we're going to see a lot of women walking around like they're doing everything on their own, having babies with the next guy and the next motherfucker and the next motherfucker, all to collect a child support check. You know what they should do with that money? They should limit what you could spend it on. It should come on a prepaid debit card, and it should only be able to be used for utilities, bills, and children's supplies. You want to buy the kids some clothes? You want to buy the kids some toys? You want to take the kids out? Sure, absolutely. That's what that money's for. It's not for you to get your nails done. It's not for you to go to the club. It's not for you to spend it on the next man that you're dating. Not that we really even give a fuck that you're dating somebody else. But the money is not for that. The money is for the children. And we are not bad people, and we don't deserve to be extorted for our money just because we didn't choose to stay with someone who treated us like shit. See, I want to know why the justice system punishes men for separating from women. Very rarely does it punish a woman from separating from a man. Most of the time when they split up, she'll get half your shit. God forbid you're married. I'm glad I didn't marry that person. I would have really had a hard time. But just having a kid alone, all of a sudden I've been labeled a deadbeat. All of a sudden I've been labeled a loser, a lost cause. Her whole family hates me. All her friends hate me. All this. Not that I care about their opinions. But what I would really like to know is, all this energy and all this time that's being spent sitting around, talking shit, spreading rumors, fucking with me, fucking with my new girlfriend, rather than communicating on how we can keep the kids okay, rather than communicating on when I can have the children. It hasn't followed any of the mediation orders that were set in place. And I keep using a lot of examples from my life, but a lot of men are going through this. And it's time that we do something about it. I'm really fucking depressed about this shit. And a lot of other men are. It's hard to wake up every day knowing that your money's not yours, knowing that your time's not yours, knowing that the court system is going to come after you in a predatory manner. You seen some of the paperwork that they send these people? It's very menacing. It's very threatening. It's very accusatory. It doesn't make sense. But until we do something about this, until California takes some sort of initiative, some sort of stricter stance on this, it's going to continue to happen. You're going to continue to see women pop babies and collect checks. Because there's no punishment for them in that situation. There's no shame. You see, you go back years ago and you saw a single mother. Now, again, this isn't every single mother, because some of them do come out of fucked up situations, and they're much better off and much safer without that asshole who's an abusive piece of shit. Other times, if you were dealing with a woman who was in a relationship and had children with somebody, but let's say she's still promiscuous, she's still cheating, she's still on dating websites, whatever the case may be. Rather than the dude being insecure and trying to force her to remain in a relationship, he goes, you know what, fuck it, I'm not dealing with it. I don't have time for this shit. If you want to fuck other dudes, you want to be with other people, you go right ahead. I'm getting the fuck out. Oh, well, I'm putting you on child support. For what? For what? We didn't say we wouldn't take care of the kids. We said we wouldn't take care of you. And last time I checked, you're an adult. All these specific types of women, again, not every woman, but a lot of these women are running around. I can do it by myself. I don't need no man. My kids are better off without a father. That's a load of shit. It affects both men and women. It affects both boys and girls. Because when they don't have that father element, they grow up and they don't know how to fucking behave. That's a major fucking byproduct of that situation. You take a look at all these people who have these very overly emotional reactions. That goes for men and women. And you really think about it, most of the time they come from a fatherless household. You want to know why? Because the mother operates and reacts based on emotion. We see this in the court system, and we see it with the way they discipline their children. Now, again, I'm not going to say this is every woman, but what I will say is the number of women who are doing this is going to continue to climb. The amount of interest on your arrears is going to continue to grow. And that's another thing, too. The way they go about it is very predatory in the sense that they don't tell you that the amount that you're paying on the interest of arrears that owed outweighs what's going towards the principal. For example, in my situation, I climbed my debt down from $15,000 to $12,000. Well, it skyrocketed up to $15,000 from $3,000 because I had to get a DNA test for the second child because, of course, as you would imagine, we split up because I, didn't know if she was faithful. And to be quite honest, I wasn't willing to be faithful to her either. So I decided it was best. Found out later she was pregnant. Didn't want to get a DNA test for the longest, but tried to put me on child support. Well, after a while, we got the DNA test. The little bit of arrears I owed from not being employed for about a month or two, I could understand that, and I was ready to take that L and pay that. But for it to completely skyrocket after I figured out that was my child and confirmed, I don't think that's fair. But I still paid it. Still paid an additional $100 on top of the $1,200 that I pay monthly. So I paid $1,300 every month. Well, I found out that only $15 of that $100 is paying off the interest, and the other $85 is an interest fee they charge every month. So you're telling me I am paying the government an additional $85 every month on top of that, and that's not going towards the interest? All that's doing is it preventing more interest from accumulating? And this is a problem because it limits you. I'm not allowed to have a passport until it climbs back down to $2,500. And if I, for some reason, happen to lose my job, then I don't get to have a driver's license. If that number gets too high, I may be disqualified from being employed at other places. You see, all of this negatively impacts us, and their bottom line is supposed to be the benefit and the safety and the care for the children. This is not the case. And this is sad because what it really looks like is it's an excuse for the government to work with bitter ex-baby mamas, mothers, whatever you want to call them. The bitter ones, not the reasonable ones, the angry ones. It looks like it's a chance for two supervillains to get together to try and fuck a man over. I'm not seeing how this benefits the child. Number one, it puts a person in a position of power who has no business having power over another adult. Both of them are parents. Both of them share equal responsibility for the children. Now, yes, you may have disagreements. You may try and figure out what works and what doesn't. But that is how two adults should be able to have a civilized conversation about that. See, when you get the courts involved, then it becomes very much a game of, well, you're wrong and you need to fix this. They don't know the full background story. All they go off of is numbers. And I find it funny that they have us fill out a declaration of expenses form when they don't use that to calculate anything. The only time that any of your financial stuff is taken into consideration outside of what you make and how much time you spend with your kids, that's really all they do when they determine what you have to pay. The only other time is an extreme financial situation. My house might have had to have burned down. My car might have needed to explode. Everything else, they don't care about your medical bills. They don't care about the other kids that you have. They don't care if you can afford the roof over your head. They don't care if you have a vehicle to get to work. All they care about is that you have some money that they can extract from you. And this is why it's looking more and more like it's not about the kids and just about paying the government. And unfortunately, the last woman you were with getting revenge on you. We need to do something about this. And I really don't know where to begin. And yeah, I might just be somebody on here who's bitching and moaning and complaining about it, but it is a problem. And so I am going to do just that. Going to bitch and moan and complain about it, and hopefully somebody sees this. And if you want to reach out and you want to talk to me, maybe you have advice, or maybe you just want to get something off your chest, go ahead and leave your information, or, message me, or leave the information in the comment section. I'm not too familiar with how that will work on YouTube. I'm new to posting videos. As you could tell, some of this is a little bit rusty, me just sitting in the car talking. But this is stuff I feel like I need to get off my chest, because I work with a lot of men who are going through the same things. And I sit there night after night looking for different ways I can try and help myself, better myself, move forward, get past these hurdles. And I keep coming up on dead ends and walls and roadblocks. And it just seems that it's almost intentionally designed to purposely keep you stuck in a vicious cycle. They don't want you off debt. They want you in debt to them forever. That's the end of the video. And as far as I'm concerned, my opinion of the child support system is it needs a whole reform. We absolutely need to take care of our children. We don't need to be extorted for money by our ex-wives, ex-girlfriends. I don't think it's fair that they just get to collect a paycheck on our behalf. I think it's a load of shit. And I'm sick of seeing the ones that do that run around with this attitude, like in this entitlement and this false sense of self-worth, talking about they're doing everything on their own when they were just in there fighting to get $1,200 from you a month. I think it's a load of shit. Something needs to be done. Anywho, that's my rant for the day. Catch y'all later. Peace.